I've been listening to audiobooks quite recently and I've been having an amazing time just exploring other formats of books. So today I'll be sharing some helpful tips and tricks that you can use when venturing into audiobooks for the first time, or if it's something that you're trying to fall in love with. So let's get into it. My name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. If you're here for the first time, do hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thing. And if you have been here for a while, welcome back. I hope you are doing well. So like I said, today I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks that could help you maximize your audiobook experience if you are just starting out or you're looking to start out with audiobooks. So yes, I know that the default book to fall to is generally the physical copies, which are the hard copies, or the e-copies, but I'm here to let you know that there is a whole world of audiobooks that a lot of readers or potential readers are yet to explore, and audiobooks are simply amazing. If you find the right book with the right narrator and the right performers, like, you could literally have a blast of a book that you thought was just ordinary if you were reading it, as opposed to like hearing somebody actually perform or narrate this book. It could be such an amazing experience. So this is something that I started quite a while ago and I've been exploring it, and I don't listen to as many audiobooks as I read physical copies. So I'm just going to be sharing some general tips that could help you get started. So if you've been playing with the idea of just getting into audiobooks, then that's great. I'm going to share some of the benefits of listening to audiobooks over hard copies, and that's not to say that you should totally dump hard copy books or e-copy books, but these are some of the benefits of listening to audiobooks. So you can multitask, especially with mindless activities, maybe like cooking, cleaning, arranging the house, or doing other things, not necessarily working or anything that requires you putting your mind to it. So you can multitask and you can get other things done while you're listening to a book. You can jog, you can walk, you can exercise, you can work out, you can literally be at the gym, but just listening to a book, and it counts as a book. Now, before I continue, let's talk about how some people say that audiobooks are not books. Like, I don't know where that idea came up from, and every time I have the opportunity to speak about it, I always feel like it's the craziest thing on the planet. A book is a book, no matter what format it comes in, whether it's in hard copy, whether it's in soft copy, or it's a book that you listen to. Audiobooks are definitely books. So if you listen to a book or you listen to a couple of books, then that counts as part of the books that you've read in that year or that period. So other than the fact that you can multitask with mindless activities, you can also have a great reading experience. Rather than the normal reading experience where you pick up a book, you're reading it, you're most likely reading in the way that you think that the character might say the words. But when you listen to an audiobook, especially if there are accents involved or people from different countries and the performers are amazing, you get to have that almost live action feel of the book coming to life. And if you're one of those people like me who would typically just turn off the lights in the room, just lay back on my bed and listen to the audiobook, it's almost like as if it's a movie that is being acted in front of me. It's just that I cannot see the characters, but I can hear them vividly, and everything literally feels like it's coming to life. So it really presents a very good reading experience. Also, you can set the pace of your reading. A lot of audiobook apps come with modifiers of the pace of the reading, so it's not too slow, it's not too fast. You can go at a comfortable pace, and then you can keep track of your reading. You can bookmark certain points. You can also go back if you want to rewind, fast forward. It's almost like you're watching a movie, but you're just not seeing the scenes, you're just hearing everything that is happening. Also, you can listen to multiple books at once. You can switch back and forth, and it's almost like reading hard copy books at once. And a lot of people always express concern like, oh, how will I be able to read multiple books at once? I'm going to mix up the plots. But really what you find is that you don't mix up the plots, because you kind of know what is already happening in a book. It's good to go a little distance in a book to sort of get yourself used to what is going on in the book before you start switching back and forth. And some people are mood readers. Like, you pick up a book and you're in the mood for something funny, something light, and you're not necessarily in the mood for something heavy. So if you have 4 books that you're reading at once, you can pick up the one that is light, and the one that is a little bit heavy you can keep for later when you're well stabilized, just so that you don't fall into a reading slump. So most of the audiobook apps have, different ways that you can save your progress on whatever you're reading, and so you can read multiple books at once. I currently listen to audiobooks on SCRIBD, and this is not in any way a paid promotion of SCRIBD, but I've been having a great time with SCRIBD. I pay for the app monthly and I'm able to have access to a whole lot of audiobooks, ebooks, but I use it mostly for the audiobooks experience. I think that they have comics, magazines, and other things on there. I also know that there are other audiobooks apps, which could be Google Play Books, Audible, LibriVox, Libby, Audiobooks. These are some of the apps that you can try. I use an iPhone, so I'm not particularly sure of which ones are the best for Android, so you can also do some research on that, especially if it's something that you're looking to get into for the first time, and that would help you make an informed decision. So now that you've downloaded the audiobook app, you found the one that is suitable for your device or your phone or wherever you're listening from, the next thing you want to do is do some research on some nice audiobooks in the genre that you typically would read. So if you typically would read fiction books or non-fiction self-helps, then you can do some research, because what you find is that not every hard copy book is well performed or well narrated into an audiobook. And so you can have a book that you've read before or you've been meaning to read, and the audiobook is a little and then you're like, oh, this was such a terrible book. Meanwhile, the book is actually lovely, and if you had read it on your own, maybe the hard copy or the soft copy, you may have actually fallen in love with the book. So you also want to do a little bit of research just to find out what nice audiobooks. You can ask people on your social media for recommendations, for good audiobook recommendations in whatever genre that you want. For me, I'm enjoying reading books in the thriller, psychological thriller, and mystery genres, and those are very good genres that I like. I've seen great performers and narrators, so that's something that you want to do. So that's because one thing I've found is that your first audiobook experience or your first 5 audiobook experience could make or mar your general audiobook experiences, and you don't really want a situation where you pick books and you're like, oh my goodness, is this really what audiobooks are about? Nah, I think I'm going to stick to hard copies or soft copies. So you ultimately want to do some research just to make sure that you have a very lovely first experience. Another tip would be to sample the audiobook before you actually buy it or before you try it. So for me, I use SCRIBD, and SCRIBD is an app that I already pay for in advance every month to my Apple services. So it's something that it's not like, I can always just listen to a sample. I don't want to listen to it and move on to the next audiobook. But if it's something that you're going to specifically have to pay for, whether it's from Amazon or whatever, or a shop or an online shop, then you want to sort of sample it. They give samples of maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute or even 5 minutes of what the audiobook might sound like. So that would help you make a decision so that you don't end up buying something that you later regret and you're like, I never knew this was what it would sound like. So you may want to sample the audiobook before you actually buy, to know and get a feel of what you're getting yourself into. The third tip would be to set a comfortable pace for listening. So you don't want your audiobook to sound too slow that it sounds boring, that you drift off and probably fall asleep, or it's too fast that you're struggling to hear what the narrator or the performers are saying or what the book is about in general. You want a comfortable pace where you can actually be doing other mindless activities and you can be listening and have a very good feel of it. And so me, I typically would listen at probably 1.2x or 1.5x depending on how slow or fast the narrator or the performers are actually speaking. That will give you a very good audiobook listening experience. If this is something that you're trying for the first time and you have maybe a hard copy or an ebook, right, that you've always wanted to know what the audiobook sounds like, another interesting tip would be to read the hard copy as you're listening to the audiobook. So a lot of people try to listen to audiobooks for the first time and they find that, they're always distracted, they're looking at other things, their minds drift, they're like, oh my goodness, I couldn't stay concentrated no matter how interesting it was, and they really struggle with listening to audiobooks. If you're one of those people, what you can do is get the hard copy, be reading it along with the narrator. Why that will provide a fantastic reading experience is because if you're reading a book that is not particularly maybe set in a country or a city or a community where you are from, and there are different accents or different languages in the book, then it's an amazing experience for you because you hear how the names of certain places and people are also pronounced. So it gives you some sort of thing to hold on to if it's something that you're venturing into for the first time and you feel like you're going to be distracted. You can have your hard copy book or your e-copy book with you handy while you're listening to the audiobook. Some people just like to dive right in, listen only to the audiobook, and they're good to go because they can somewhat concentrate. But if you cannot, then then this will be a very helpful tip. Then number 5 would be to do mindless activities while multitasking. Do not try to read another book while you are listening to the audiobook. So for example, you're reading book A. Instead of you're reading book A as a hard copy, and then you decide to try audiobooks. You now start reading book B while you are reading book A at the same time. You need your mind to be able to concentrate on both books at different times. Also, try not to work or do things that require you to think too much about what you're doing while you're listening to audiobooks, because you get easily distracted, and you find that when you miss a paragraph or a sentence or even a page, you're always reminding to go back. At some point it gets exhausting and you get frustrated, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to read what I'm used to reading. Remember, this is probably you coming out of your comfort zone, so you need to also find out what people who are used to doing this in this zone typically do, so that you can help yourself to have an amazing audiobook experience. So these are just some of the benefits and some of the tips that I thought to share with you. With time, I will update this video and will include more tips and tricks, just a couple, just to help you start your audiobook journey. If it's something that you've been considering for a while but you don't know where to start, or you don't know how to start, do some research. There's nothing wrong with that. Find out from friends, get some recommendations from people. Remember, it's okay to try different formats, especially if you're in a reading slump. What you really want to do is try different formats of books and not just limit yourself to one book. There's a whole world of amazingness that is in audiobooks, and I cannot wait for you to try it or for you to continue to explore. If you're an audiobook head and you've been on it for a while, please let me know if there are any other tips that I missed out. Add them in the comments so that people can see as well. If you're new to this, let me know if these tips were helpful and if it's something that you're going to try. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.